Thank you, Richard. That was a very kind introduction, and I thank you for that. What I should actually stress is that it doesn't really matter how good a paper is. If your editor doesn't cooperate, there is no paper. And as we had discussed with Richard many times before, oftentimes it takes a lot of courage for an editor to embrace a paper that actually defies the status quo, and I thank Richard for doing so. And I would also thank Joep Lange because he actually contributed to this quest significantly early on, and since then throughout the years. We're going to miss him dearly. My task today, you'll be relieved to hear, is not to tell you what we're doing in Vancouver, but rather a brief summary of some of the work that was discussed at the HIV treatment as prevention workshop that we held in Vancouver in April. It seems like a long time ago, and it seems like all history in view of the developments that Richard actually highlighted. I think I would rather discuss the UNAIDS targets. I'll get to that in a moment, but let me just do what I was supposed to do. This is my cover slide. I want to acknowledge our sponsors, the co-sponsors, and the host for the meeting, as you see here. I think that one of the important themes that was sort of controversial leading to the April meeting in Vancouver was whether or not we were facing a tension between treatment as prevention of HIV transmission and treatment as prevention of morbidity and mortality. And for that reason, we were particularly pleased to have the data from the HPTN of I2 revisited with regards to clinical outcomes. I will not present the results in detail. Suffice to say that this paper, published earlier on in March of this year in Lancet Infectious Diseases, clearly demonstrated that in that particular trial, immediate use of antiretroviral therapy was associated with an individual level health benefit for the study participants. The other thing that got a lot of attention in the meeting was data from a number of sources regarding life expectancy associated with early initiation of treatment, which is being shown to be going up and up and up steadily in various cohorts. Additionally, there was a great deal of interest on second-generation benefit associated with treatment as prevention. And in this case, for example, just to outline the point, that antiretroviral therapy in heavily affected areas particularly has been shown to be associated with employment benefits. I've stolen this slide from my good friends at PEPFAR because it's a really nice summary on the blue box there of some of the broader societal benefits of antiretroviral therapy in terms of prevention of death, children not orphaned, sexual transmission of HIV averted, vertical transmission averted, TB, tuberculosis prevention. Some have argued that particularly in heavy endemic TB areas, this is an often ignored direct benefit of broader eligibility criteria now available through the WHO new guidelines. Andrew Hill presented at this conference a nice summary, which really saves me the trouble to show a whole lot of country-specific data that shows the association between coverage with antiretroviral therapy and mortality, demonstrating that death rates go down as the coverage increases in 51 countries illustrated here. And he used the same UNAIDS data to show the correlation between new infections and antiretroviral therapy coverage, again in 51 countries, showing that higher coverage is associated with lower infections. So I think that the theme at the workshop really was one of treatment as prevention, prevention of morbidity, prevention of mortality, prevention of tuberculosis, and prevention of HIV transmission. There was a pending assignment for us related to the issue of whether or not there were biological differences in the ability of treatment to interfere with HIV transmission in the MSM environment. And what you see here is data presented earlier this year at CROI showing that preliminary results from the partner study suggest that the biological ability of treatment to prevent transmission in MSM is actually of the same order of magnitude as it has been seen in heterosexual couples in the HPTN 052 study. The other issue that took a fair bit of time discussion at the meeting was the tension that still exists between treatment as prevention and Truvada-based chemoprophylaxis. And to make a long story short, the feeling at the time of our discussions was that treatment as prevention is certainly more reliable in its ability to deliver the prevention of HIV transmission benefit, which, by the way, is a secondary benefit of doing what we were supposed to do anyways, which is to offer treatment to people infected with HIV with no additional infrastructure and at no additional cost, making it a very significant and more attractive proposition from a programmatic perspective. So coming down to our key messages, treatment as prevention ultimately is primarily about preventing morbidity and mortality, and as a byproduct, for virtually no additional investment and in a cost-varying fashion, preventing HIV transmission. I addressed the concerns regarding the tension between treatment as prevention and chemoprophylaxis. I also highlighted for you the fact that treatment as prevention biologically is effective in the MSM setting, and that it also works in resource-limited settings. I made allusion to the fact that the treatment guidelines put forward by WHO in 2013 represent a major advancement in the field as they open the door for us to really have a real impact at the global level, even within the frame of those guidelines. And based on that, you'll be happy to know that we initiated the discussion of a potential new target, the 90-90-90, that Richard alluded to in Vancouver. And I cannot be happier to say that these potential targets appear to have become yet a reality faster than anybody anticipated by the endorsement that they have received in Melbourne today, up to today. 90% of all people living with HIV should know their HIV status. 90% of all people diagnosed with HIV will receive sustained antiretroviral therapy, and 90% of all people receiving antiretroviral therapy will have durable biological suppression based on the targets that we have unveiled here by 2020, and as Richard said, opening the door for the beginning of an AIDS-free generation by 2030. The result of this would be accumulated 73% of people infected with HIV being virologically undetectable, which will dramatically change the future as we know it. I wanted to highlight that these targets are a significant departure from anything that we know in terms of targets before, because they move us from a single target to a cascade-based target, from death as a goal to death, morbidity and transmission as a goal. They move us from a single number to an equity approach to the targets, and they oblige us to think transition from thinking about incremental funding to front-load investment with the potential of cost savings down the road, with the ultimate objective to maximize the effectiveness of existing tools to virtually eliminate progression to AIDS, premature death, and HIV transmission, and thereby transforming the HIV and AIDS pandemic into a low-level sporadic endemic. That's all I have for you today. I just wanted to highlight the fact that invited presentations, workshop proceedings, and the evaluation are available at the workshop site, as you see there, and you're welcome to access those if you wish. If anybody urgently needs the materials, I have some memory sticks with the data available, and you feel free to approach me after the presentations. Thank you.